You know what I hear so often? Networking totally doesn't work. Almost every single week, I hear this from clients. This is, of course, before they start networking. Now, I was talking to a client, actually, potential clients. We were talking about what their job search is like and what's getting in the way of them getting their goal. And what I've noticed over and over again is that unless you have a really structured system, networking kind of goes like this. You send out maybe five contacts or five emails or reach out to three people here, one person there, one person there. And because you don't really get much of a response, you think to yourself, it doesn't really work. But that's not actually enough data. And so the issue isn't networking itself. The issue is our mindset, our approach, and the expectations that we have around it. So, what we're going to do in the next several minutes here is that we're going to cover why networking feels uncomfortable, why it becomes a self fulfilling prophecy, and the three main shifts that you can make to help networking work for you, feel so much more authentic and so much better, and help you get to your next role, get to career success, whatever that is. Breathe life into your job search. By the end of this episode, you're going to know how to start a real conversation that can actually lead to real opportunities, but also to stronger relationships in your field. And ultimately, isn't this about people? Hey there, this is the Uncommon Career Podcast. My name is Patricia Ortega, and I'm here helping you to overcome challenges in the job search. The goal is for you and I to get together, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly, and to help you get to your offers faster. I give you some practical strategy, and we're going to talk about that today. But a lot of what I talk about here is also about the motivation to help you execute consistently. All right, so let's get into today's episode. Let's get into today's content. So, I've got three reasons for you, three reasons why networking maybe doesn't work for you, and three small shifts you can make so that it does start working for you. Now, the first reason is that you quote unquote kind of network. And what I mean by this is that many times when I talk to someone about networking, I ask them, okay, what does your networking routine look like? And they're like, yeah, I've already tried that. And I'm like, awesome. But tell me what it looks like day to day. And they're like, well, I sent two messages out a couple weeks ago. And I'm going to be real and honest because I care about you. Even as I'm listening, I hear the, kind of, sort of, maybe sent something out. And that's how I know this isn't just our conversation, it's also how the messages are going out. It's also the level of activity and the motivation behind it. All of it comes across as you send out the messages. I wonder if we were to get into the actual messages that were sent, if they would sound like, hey, so and so, I saw that you posted XYZ and I'd really love to have a conversation about it. Why don't we get on a coffee chat and talk about best practices? There's a difference between that and a message that's, hi, I'm, looking to get into this field and I was wondering if you had a couple of minutes to talk. One says, hey, let's have a mutually beneficial conversation around something that we're both interested in. The other says, I kind of need to network, so I'm sending you the obligatory networking messaging. So you can see how one is going to get more of a reaction than the other. And so the main idea here is that you kind of network, and it's kind of a mental cycle where you start with, I feel uncomfortable about networking. And what that does, it creates low or even negative motivation. I don't really feel like networking. I'm not feeling it. I don't think this will work for me. There's a lot of hesitation in that. And so that relays over to the action that you take. That means that the message you send, the words that are in that email or that LinkedIn message are going to be affected by how you feel because out of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? So how you feel is going to affect what words you use and how you interact with that person. That limited effort or maybe not as energetic effort is going to then translate into results that demonstrate that level of activity. So it's all kind of a domino effect. But see, those results then are going to tell your brain, yep, I was right. Networking doesn't work. And now you're even more hesitant. And when you hop on that call with me and I ask you, hey, how are you doing your networking? that's when you're like, yeah, it really doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for my industry. And I have all these theories. And again, I tell you this because I care. I hear all these theories about why it doesn't work. It doesn't work in my industry. It doesn't work with this kind of organization. I never answer those emails. And that might be true, but you are one person out of a billion. And I can tell you that people are on a spectrum. Some people are highly busy and highly task oriented, but in every single field, there are people that are open to conversations and that want to talk about best practices, talk about whatever it is that you have common ground in. Okay, so the main first reason is that you're kind of networking, but that kind of really pulls attention away from what really needs to take place, which is a genuine human connection. So if we kind of can get into that mindset of I'm not I'm not trying to avoid this. I don't want to send rush messages. I want to intentionally reach out to some folks that I have something genuine in common with, not to get hired, not to get a job, because that probably won't happen, especially in your several, first calls. What really you're doing is you're building a network of people who know you and who you can help and they can help you. The goal is not the offer. The goal is really more of having great conversations. Okay, so let's hop into reason number two. Now, this is tied. These pieces are all kind of interconnected, but I'm trying to split them up so you can see. That first piece is that kind of mindset. You're kind of networking, kind of not really in the game. The second reason is that the message that you send feels more transactional than relational. It feels more like you need something more so than you're looking to connect. And people can really sense when the message that you're sending is really driven by a need that you have versus a desire to connect. So, if the message says anything about you needing a job, or if you're sending a message, and I had someone point this out, I'm sending messages and they immediately see my open to work sign, and so they're less likely to interact. So, you can choose to put your open to work only visible to LinkedIn recruiters. That is a choice that everyone's going to make. And I know it is a hot topic and probably one of the most wildly debated topics about LinkedIn. But if you're finding yourself in that situation that you believe, after so many messages, that your theory is they're not replying because they see that I'm open to work, and so they assume that that's the only reason I'm messaging them. You can always hide that open to work sign, test with 20, 30 folks, 20 connection requests, and see what you get back. So again, if the message says, let's kind of get back to the point here, right? Reason number two is that the message feels transactional. So if the message says, hey, I'm looking to transition. I need your help. I'm looking for a referral. Right now, I'm looking for a position, anything like that. It can basically drop your number of responses because you haven't yet built trust. Now, there's some industries where they are naturally more people oriented. Like if you're in a helping profession, that is much more likely to work. Or if you're in smaller organizations, maybe that's more likely to work than in bigger organizations. It's very different across industries, but this might be one of the reasons that your message feels transactional. And so what you can do is instead lead with connection. This means that you can, search for contacts that went to your alma mater, to the school that you attended. This could mean that you're looking for a mutual connection by searching for people who were at your former or current employer and now are at another company in a function that you're interested in. You have that commonality of knowing the same culture that you were both at, knowing the same organization that you were both at, maybe having the, same quirky lines that were just known in that space, right? Maybe instead of your prior school or your prior employer, you're looking at connections of connections. So what you can do on LinkedIn is you can type in your function, whatever that function is that you're targeting, and then in the filters, you can choose second, not first, but second for this particular activity, right? You would choose second. And what that means is that everyone on that list has a connection in common with you. Just because of that, just because they have a connection in common, they are actually much more likely to accept your connection request and even start a conversation. The last way I'll share with you that you can create networking messages that don't feel transactional, that feel more about connection, is to search for an industry topic in the posts. So you go into your LinkedIn, you search for a topic, you're going to see a bunch of, output or responses or whatever. You're going to click on posts because you want to see posts about that topic. So if you are in human resources, you maybe might type in payroll or human resources or employee engagement. You would type whatever industry topic you're interested in, and then from the filters, choose post. Now you can see all kinds of folks who are posting about that. If the location filter is available, then you click on that location, and now you are limited to posts within your geographic area or posts in the United States, for example. Now you can see who posts about those topics and who's commenting on those. Now you can react or reply to those comments and then reach out to them in the DMs. So, all of this to say that you can make a message feel less transactional and more relational if you find that point of connection before reaching out to them. So if you're finding that just, searching for folks and hitting connect maybe is not your thing, that's okay. You have this way to build on something, build on a foundation, a commonality. Okay. So, reason number 1, we talked about not really being all in because there's a little bit of resistance, which I totally understand, but we've got to move past it to get to the good stuff, which is a one-on-one call. Reason number 2 is that maybe your message feels a little bit too transactional. Maybe you're going in for the kill and like really seeking the offer in that very first message. You want to diffuse all pressure. That's number 2. But number 3 is that you don't have enough data. You haven't put in the reps. This is probably the number 1 issue outside of, yes, you do need a brand that tells your story. And yes, you do need to have clarity on how to communicate with folks and all those things. You got to have your LinkedIn. But more often than not, it's not that part that slows people down, at least not when we work together, right? I always say it's all fun and games when we're creating the brand and everyone's like, oh, look at all my amazing achievements. It's such a boost of confidence. I absolutely love that part of the process. But inevitably, as soon as we get to the search, as soon as we get to the networking, we don't have the reps because it's harder work. It's relational work. And so we put in 1 or 2, maybe 5, maybe 10. We don't get a response. And almost inevitably every time I get on the call with someone and they'll say, it's not really going that well. I'm not really getting any response. And it's so interesting how small a number of rejections we need in order to believe it, and how large a number of successes we need in order to believe that. So I encourage you to set a number before you even start that focuses on your action, not so much on the response. So, for example, instead of having an outcome goal, meaning, okay, I'm going to start networking and get hired by Friday, right? We have no control over that. But if your goal was, I'm going to send out 20 connection requests every single day between now and Friday, and everyone who accepts, which might be 2 people, might be 4, might be 7, depending on your industry, everyone who accepts, the next day, you're going to send them a message. And all you have to worry about is filling that pipeline. All I have to do is every single day put things in motion by clicking connect 20 times. And then everyone who accepts, without even thinking, you're like, okay, I'm going to send these people messages and start conversations. And from there, all you're doing is replying. So the main piece that you need to focus on is those connection requests and checking the acceptances. Everything else is kind of a snowball. But you have to have those numbers, because if you do only send out 3 or 4 or 5, it's kind of like, you ever been to a party and you're not really feeling it? You maybe feel a little bit shy, maybe a little insecure. I know I've been there. And I walk into the party and, there's always someone who's like, hey, what's up? And talking to everybody. And then I'm here with like my hands in my pockets because it's not the greatest day for me. And I'm just kind of quiet. And then all of a sudden I think to myself, I have to go out and talk to people. So then I go into a group and everybody's really loud and I'm like, hey, how's it going? No one responds to me. No one even acknowledges me. But it's not because they don't like me or because they rejected me. It's because no one heard my, hey, how's it going? Hey, hey, everybody. Right? So that's one of the things that, I always think about is when we're at that party, we're not really feeling it. And we just kind of like really quickly, like, hey, what's up? Nobody really hears it. It's the same thing when you don't have enough data. If you sent messages or connection requests to 5 people, that is an accomplishment. Congratulations. But also, it is very possible that just by the numbers, those 5 people may be extremely busy, maybe on vacation, maybe they haven't even logged onto LinkedIn in a year, right? So, for whatever reason, you didn't hear back, but it's not because they're rejecting you, it's actually because they didn't hear the message. So, all that to say is you don't have enough volume. So, you want to get out there. You don't have to be super loud, but you do need to put the reps in to figure out why aren't people connecting. When people aren't connecting, it's not because of you. It's because, again, timing, busyness, the algorithm, life happens, they're not on LinkedIn, whatever. And so we need the number so that we can get to a point where we see some feedback, we see some people that reply, we get on some calls, and then we can say, okay, how do I now increase my response rate? Okay, I know there's a lot here. So let's make things super, super simple because I feel like I'm on caffeine today. Can you tell? I'm like talking faster than I normally do. So let's slow this down a little bit. The 3 reasons why you may not be, super successful in networking is first, because you kind of network, meaning you're not fully in it. So what if you were fully in it for just a couple days? Give it a week and see what happens. The second reason is that the message feels transactional. And so for this, what if you focused on sending networking messages out solely to get on conversations with people who you're going to enjoy, networking with, building relationship with, not because they in any way, shape, or form can lead you to your offer. And number 3, yes, you're only going to go for let's say a week, but every single day that week, you've got to put the numbers in. So connect with 20 people every single week, as opposed to one person here, one person there. That's it. Connect with 20 people every single week. Start reaching out to them to have some conversations. And when you reach out to them, try not to focus on the offer. Focus on building genuine connection. All right, let's wrap this up now. Networking is most powerful when it stops being transactional and it's more about you and the other person. All right, I hope this was helpful for you. If you can get through the speed bump of that resistance to networking, you can get to the life-giving part of getting on the call with someone who's cheering you on, who understands what it's like to be on the job search and understands that frustration. And because you've had a good conversation where you genuinely want to connect with them, they genuinely are going to want to help you. All right. I hope this has been helpful for you. I'll see you on the next one. And I'm going to think about maybe doing an episode on what happens once you get on that one-on-one call, right? So that if you do what we talked about today, you're going to get on a one-on-one call soon. So how do you have that conversation so that it remains relational, but still you're able to get your resume out there? Maybe we'll do that in the next episode. Until then, know that Denise and I are praying for you. We are cheering you on, and we'll see you on the next one. Hey, thanks for listening. I really appreciate you spending time with me today. If you found this episode helpful, please tap the 5-star review on the show's homepage in your podcast app. It would absolutely make my day, and it helps others discover the Uncommon Career Podcast. Now, to download your free career resources and learn how I help seasoned professionals land amazing offers in as little as 90 days, click on the link in the description or go to theuncommoncareer.com. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one.